right, guys, I usually don't start videos out with my arms crossed like this, but today I want to talk about the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, because on Monday, November the 11th, I went to the National Palace, which is featured on countless tourist publications. In fact, on Sunday night, I went to the International Book Fair, and the National Palace is prominently featured there. And the book fair is going on as we speak. It's 2 weeks long. Phenomenal production. And, I had gone to the Chinese neighborhood, Chinatown, one of two Chinatowns in the Caribbean. I had gone to various other places like the Colonial Zone and various malls. I went to the university. I just, my thing is I sampled all sorts of foods like, what was the one that I had? It was called chinola, something like that. It was like a very acidic, sweet, get that, sweet and acidic at the same time fruit. I went to the Agra Mall. I went to Sambil, which, by the way, Sambil is a huge mall, and right behind it, there's yet another U.S. embassy. So they're moving from one embassy to another one. This one's supposed to be even bigger, and everybody at Sambil is very excited because it's going to bring so much business. Anyway, so I went to the National Palace Monday morning. Now, mind you, there are signs. Oh, well, before we get to the signs, the Uber driver, I had told the Uber driver because Monday was the first day that it wasn't raining torrentially. And as we're pulling up, I see that the palace is surrounded by these massive gates. And I'm like, wow, you don't see that in the pictures. You just see, the building. And I said, do they give tours? Can you go in the gate once you show your credentials or whatnot? He said, oh, no, you can stay on the sidewalk though, and you can go around the perimeter. And the guards are very nice. They may take photos with you. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Plus, I've got a Sony AX43, so I've got like a 30 times zoom. So I wasn't really all that concerned. Anyways, as we're pulling up, one of the gates, because there's two main gates, but then there's other smaller gates around. Well, at the main gate, the guards go nuts. They're like, get out of here, get out of here. Now, mind you, we're across the street, a block over. So it's not like we're parked in front of their gate. We're not obstructing, egress or ingress. We're a block up on the other side of the street. So as my Uber driver, he gets out of there, I start filming. Within 10 seconds, 30 seconds, the guard comes out because I'm trying to get the whole thing. I'm trying to zoom up to the top where the flag is at. The guard comes out. He's like, you got to go. You can only take photos and videos for for a few seconds, he said. And so as I'm going around, I noticed that there are no signs anywhere that, back up what he's saying. Because, again, when I went to the International Book Fair, nothing there about you can't film, you can't photograph. Get there, my Uber driver's telling me what I can do. This guy's telling me something else. There's no signs anywhere. But there are signs for no parking. There are signs for no unloading or picking up passengers. But there's no signs about photography. I get around, and you can watch the video here at the end. I basically got accosted by a couple of intelligence agents with some really goofy looking badges. And then I also got accosted by a uniformed police captain. One of the two intelligence officers said to me he was a major. And then I also got accosted by a police captain and a plainclothes, possibly intelligence as well. Plus, every single gate and minor gate around the palace was up in arms that I was filming. One government official stared me down. No signs anywhere. No mention of no photography in any tourist publication. No mention of it at the National Palace at the International Book Fair event, which had a whole section on the National Palace and the three branches of government. Nothing. I go on the National Palace's website after the fact, no mention of photography anywhere. Now, the uniformed captain told me it was a restricted zone. And the uniformed captain and others were following me around, some on foot, some on motorcycles. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And I was debating, should I put the content up or shouldn't I? If I put it up, I'm protected, because if I don't, they can demand that I give them over the memory card. Otherwise, they won't let me fly out. Now, mind you, none of these people, none of them said it was illegal. None of them said it wasn't allowed. One of them said it was a restricted area. Now, that's something to think about. The uniformed captain said it was a restricted area, the public sidewalk on the other side of a gate right by the street where the cars are driving by. He thought that was a restricted. It's just insane. So I wrote a letter to my congressman, but that's the other thing. So my congressman, you can't write to him directly. You can only write to his media relations person. And then I wrote to the media relations person. I wanted to send an actual email. I don't want to fill out a form and then submit it because I don't know where it's going, right? I fill out so I didn't fill out the form. I sent an email. It was like a page long, explained everything with a link to my article at Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube. Actually, sightsoundsflavors.com, where it explains everything. And I sent that 10:33 on November 12th. The next day, I had to fly. So November 13th, I had to fly out. Now, the whole time I'm thinking, are these people going to jam me up? Are they following me to my hotel? I mean, it was pretty crazy. They were following me for about a good 5 or 6 blocks outside of the palace. I was pretty scared. No response from the embassy. I think the embassy somewhere says in the email it may take up to 3 days to get a response. Well, it's been 3 days. They never responded. And yet they're going to a new embassy behind Sambil, which is one of the nicest malls in Santo Domingo. So not only are they getting an upgrade, they're probably getting a lot more resources, but I don't know who checks the email. So this would be a question. The video here is going to be a question for the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo. When a U.S. national writes to you and says, I've been filming as part of a tourist channel for YouTube. I was told I didn't break any rules. I was told what I was doing was not illegal. I was threatened to give over my passport, but I didn't. And I was then followed for 5 or 6 blocks on motorcycle and on foot. I'm very scared. I have to fly out of the country tomorrow. I'm staying at this hotel. This is my contact information. Can you please help me? 24 hours pass, 48 hours pass. What's after 48 hours? Is it 72 hours pass? Nothing. Who checks the emails? I mean, you guys are getting a new building that I'm paying for, because, it comes out of my taxes, I'm paying for it, right? I am a U.S. citizen. I am in a foreign country. You are who I have to contact. Now, when I was being accosted by the military and the police and the intelligence people, and I said, hey, do you want me to call the embassy? That was like my nuclear option, and they backed up immediately. I don't know what this is. They backed up immediately, right? But they didn't know how incompetent you guys are, because if I had been stopped at the airport on some ridiculous charge or whatever, where would you guys have been exactly? If they had taken my passport and not had returned it, and I needed my passport, mind you, I didn't break the law, I didn't break any rules, I didn't do anything wrong, but they took my passport, would you have come to my aid? I mean, isn't that what you're there to do? I mean, isn't that like what an embassy is there to do? Who checks that email is what I want to know. Now, when I wrote to the congressman, I wrote to the only person that had an email address, which was his media relations person. So I followed up with a second email yesterday, and I said, did you get my email? Like, are you going to be giving me a response? That person wrote me back because I followed up and apologized for delayed response. Had I not followed up, they probably wouldn't have written me back either. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, they said that they were going to contact the State Department and hopefully show the State Department my article. My hope is that the State Department will contact the appropriate person in Dominican government and say, hey, listen, you guys have a lot of them. Most of my hotel were Americans. There was a guy from the Carolinas. There was a guy with his mom from California, a chef who I'm following on Instagram. There was a couple from Pembroke Pines, Florida, Broward County, and we were all talking, having breakfast every day. Embassy Suites, Santo Domingo, amazing hotel, tallest building in Santo Domingo, just a phenomenal place with a movie theater in there, 2 restaurants, just a phenomenal room, just a whole great experience. And the folks at the hotel said, listen, those guards down there, just like the guy that picked me up, the second Uber driver, the first Uber driver would not move the 6 blocks because I was being followed, would not move the 6 blocks to get me from the new spot. So to cancel that, pay the cancellation fee, get a new Uber. The guy that picked me up was a retired police officer of 20 plus years. And he told me that the perception of the guards at the palace were, by the public, assholes. That was exactly his, But basically, when I followed up with the congressional media relations person, she finally wrote back and apologized for the delayed response and said she would be contacting the State Department. Thank you. That's what I want. But my question is what the hell does the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo do when a U.S. national, a U.S. citizen is actively terrified, because I don't know why they wanted my passport, because every group that I was stopped by, and these were non-consensual detentions. I was never arrested or read my rights or anything like that. But the fact that I was called, that I had to speak to them, that I didn't feel like I was free to go, to me, I'm an attorney. I mean, I'm not a plumber, I'm not an electrotherapist or whatever. I'm a lawyer. So when I tell you that it was a non-consensual detention, it was a non-consensual detention, which violated all protocols. But in any event, they never said I broke a law. They never said I broke a rule. They could never explain why photography and videography wasn't addressed in a single sign around the palace, not a single one, making that not only a non-consensual detention, but a totally illegitimate, detention. And then the fact that they wanted my passport. What were they going to do with my passport once I had it? What would I have had to have done to get that passport back? Would I have had to grease the wheel or answer questions I didn't want to answer or do a handstand? Because once you give your passport up, you can't leave the country. So it's interesting, not just for what happened to me, I'm playing with this thing here, not just for what happened to me, but for any number of other U.S. nationals and other tourists of other countries. Everybody has the ability to take amazing photos and amazing videos, and they don't need a camcorder that I had. They can do it with their cell phones. This could be a diplomatic nightmare. But the embassy, they don't check their emails. They don't check their emails. You know what I mean? And I wrote it from my attorney email. And it says my name, license in Kentucky, my 3 cell phones, my email, all that fun stuff. They don't answer their emails, or they don't read their emails. And if somebody reads the email and they're in charge of, basket weaving or trade issues or environmental issues, they're like, well, gee, this U.S. national looks like he's being trailed by intelligence and police for no apparent reason. And he's flying out tomorrow. And he's telling us where he's staying. And he's scared out of his mind. Maybe we should forward this to somebody within this big embassy that's now moving to a new embassy, because apparently the existing one isn't big enough, right? Maybe we should do something about that, seeing as taxpayers fund us and seeing how that's our freaking job. But no, that's just not in the cards. It's not in the cards. So whoever the ambassador is, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to send you all this video so you can watch this, and you can ask the person that checks the emails, what the hell are you doing? Because you're not doing your job.